see if this works.
I'm doing this.
Doing a Facebook Live. Hey, my big face. Jesus.
It looks
What am I going to do with my hair? Yeah. All right. I don't know how we get this.
I wonder if it was here. Would it think it might be better?
Oh, yeah, maybe it would work there. But you know what? It's got to sort of tip forward. From Scott. Scott had it.
Sweet.
There you go. There. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas.
Maybe a couple of
Yeah,
Altoids.
I think an Altoid box behind it will. There we go.
Lovely.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Now that's a good. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Spontaneous Vibe Report. We're here with Jack Stamps. Now, what's your affiliation?
I teach a big course at UT Austin called the Foundations of Art and Entertainment Technologies.
Foundations of Art
There
and
it is.
Entertainment
Hello.
Technology. Hold on. There's Jack there.
Yeah.
But for simplicity's sake, we're just going to focus it up on.
I'll ask the questions, but maybe
our ugly
I'll
mugs.
throw my voice.
No, you can
Into the
you
camera.
can just jump in if you want, and it'll be nice to have. It's nice to have two cameras because it's completely distracting.
This particular class
I'll
that
be
I'm
doing
teaching.
Right.
Yeah. And I will too.
It's true. Like when I'm doing these things, it's like doing like having people watch you take a selfie. It's like this, like how self-conscious can you be?
Right.
You know. Right. No double
Wait,
chins,
hold on.
please.
No, and so now the iPhone, you can do the photo burst so that you get like
Get
like
the good
100
one,
pictures
yeah.
in a row. It's like, you know.
Like the every right.
Yeah, and then you can make a GIF out of that.
Although when I've done that, it just makes me look like a heroine. It makes me realize like how much I have my eyes half closed, which is not a.
There's a great
look.
line in Mystery Science Theater's Manos, the Hands of Fate,
Mm-hmm.
where I think Joel says every frame of this movie looks like somebody's last known photograph.
right.
So anyway, well, this is great. So to finish answering your question, I teach music technology at the University of Texas in a new program called the Center for Arts and Entertainment Technologies. In which there's this course that we're kind of talking for, which has like 600 students in it.
Wow.
And it's kind of a live broadcast class, and
Great.
hopefully you got a ticket bump in Austin last night because I made all of my students.
It sure looked like
We
got
did a
ticket
monster turnout.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Where's Professor Stamps?
Right.
Anyway, and I missed the show because I was in San Antonio mediating my divorce.
Oh, sorry, God.
And then, on the way back, I was thinking the phrase, it was a Smith sort of riff, like mediation is murder.
Yeah.
Meat is
right.
murder, yeah. Anyway, it was,
That's
anyway.
tough.
But I've got a question about the term music technology because I think it threw the office that they thought it was going to be about music business. When
Oh,
you
really?
say music technology, do you mean like recording technology, or do you mean like the evolution of the saxophone, or what?
Well, no, that's both, I suppose,
okay.
because I got my PhD in music composition with emphasis in music technology, and so I coordinate the music and sound technology within the Center for Arts and Entertainment Technology. We have games and new performance technologies, robotics, and
right, of course.
just a whole bunch of stuff. But the course that I'm teaching, in which I feature you guys, has all of these students, and a lot of the incoming freshmen into our program take this course. And I reference you guys as as a really great example of artists who have used kind of unconventional and even like emerging technologies to kind of weather the storms of the changes of the music industry. Care to comment?
Well, I
a
feel
bit
like
on that?
I think we can't discuss that without also saying we also adore obsolete technologies, and that is
Right.
at least as important to us as emerging technology.
I wouldn't say we're like passionate about emerging technologies so much as you basically already sort of summed it up, which is that if you systematically try to find what's good in an emerging technology, you do have a chance of kind of capturing a new audience that's only interested in emerging technologies. Like when we did stuff with MP3s, like we are not. I think I was like years late getting into the MP3 thing. Just personally, I was already like, I was still being sort of dragged by my ankles into getting CDs. Just as a listener, I wasn't
Right.
particularly interested in CDs. I like records fine, but because just generationally, you're kind of used to what you're used to. But when the MP3 thing happened, it seemed fairly obvious that that was, there was a generation of music listeners, like college age kids, who were only going to be listening to MP3s. So if you don't want to get on that, bus, then you're not, you're just going to be left at the station.
But I would say we're not necessarily practical in our choices. I think the main, I think we're ecumenical about all the different types of technology, and we're not excited about emerging technology because it's new in particular. You know what I mean? I think it's just one of the available things.
Well, it seems like the answering machine technology,
Right.
which you guys have probably answered 10,000 questions
Right,
about dial
right.
a song.
Mhm, yeah.
But nonetheless, that always comes up as something that I think of as a kind of unconventional use of a technology that's there, but not to be used in that particular purpose. And so
Yeah.
instead of an outgoing
yeah,
message,
yeah.
you guys are sending outgoing
Yeah, I
tunes.
think misusing technology is also evergreen kind
Yeah.
of feel.
Or,
for
I
us.
mean, there is like a more specific example of something that people very early on, our second album was made with MIDI technology, and MIDI, it was a very powerful kind of, it took sort of like the idea of a player piano and applied it to electronic instruments. That's probably the best way to explain to lay people.
Well, sure,
That you
like
could-
the MIDI roll of the roll of paper in a player piano
Right.
is essentially the physical manifestation of MIDI data.
That's right.
Exactly.
Note on,
exactly.
note off, and
Right. So, but even though we had only been working with MIDI for a couple of months, and we were even reluctant to get started with MIDI because a lot of times we would be going into a recording session, and the previous session had been a MIDI session, and they'd be coming out going like, "Oh, we didn't get anything done," because and that was a real cliche for the first 6 months of MIDI recording because things wouldn't sync, and there were all sorts of technical issues. So
I was thinking about like that thing that is so far in the past that we've successfully blocked out, which is computers used to crash kind
All
of like
the time, yeah.
on the hour pretty
They
much.
were
That was
extremely
it's a normal
fragile.
thing, and because there was no alternative, it was just this was expected.
right.
Yes, this is what you get.
But what I was going to say is, like, we were recording our second album, Lincoln, and the big difference between the first album, we programmed drums on a drum machine, and we just simply transferred those drum sounds to an analog tape recorder, and that's what it was. And it worked out fine. I mean, we pre-mixed it. We had a good idea of how that was going to work. But with the second one, we had a SMPTE track striped, or a MIDI pulse track, or whatever it's called, striped. And that also freed us up to use program noise gates in time to the music. And so basically John concocted this brilliant idea of having the little carrier tone of the noise gate be triggered, and that would automatically create the tremolo sound of Anna Ang's guitar, which is like kind of like, I mean, I guess the song How Soon Is Now was already out and had this very intense but kind of organic throbby guitar that was very persuasive, sort of, wah 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 thing.
Yeah,
and then with Anna Ang, I mean, I think truth be told, we were sort of trying to replicate this song off the second, third, very neglected Devo album. What was it?
I don't remember.
Something State of the. It was like there was a track on it that had a. I don't think it was a gated guitar. I'm not sure what it was.
Right,
but it was a guitar that had like a hard mellotron.
I need to
stop.
hear it again.
Well, the envelope of How Soon Is Now,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like so decidedly different than the envelope of Anna Ing, which is just
Oh,
like
yeah,
ka,
yeah.
ka, ka,
Yeah.
ka,
Right.
and that seems to me like analogous to either punk or some sort of kind of jab at that. I always thought of that as like this kind of angular sort of feel.
Sure. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it was. I mean, definitely, we were inspired by stuff that we failed to sound anything like.
I mean,
that's-
it's a different. I mean, ultimately it's a different sound, but it's like, but it was when you hear a sound that's that compelling, it makes you think about possibilities. Really,
Right.
I think is the thing. I mean, Ang, would be the now of the How Soon Is Now. I mean, there's no. It just is on or off.
The How Soon Is Now now.
Yeah. I mean, it's like whereas the How Soon Is Now is such a beautiful recording, but it's all 50s Fender tremolo systems,
Right,
which
right.
is basically like a pulsing light bulb
There are
technology.
like 16 Mars guitar tracks in that, like these like overdubs and overdubs, and then compressed and then moved into different places in the stereo space.
Well,
And
I did read a great interview with him. Like a lot of times, when especially like when rock guitar players are being interviewed about how they did stuff, a lot of times it'd be like, "How did you get that?" And they're always like, "I don't know, it just happened." And like I was like lying down, I was really high, and I just did it. And he was like, "Well, it was really, really hard." And it took a really long time.
That's good to know.
And I sort of
Makes
felt
me feel
I
good.
appreciated the idea that like he wasn't gonna just front and say like oh, it's nothing. It was like because he wasn't using anything that would sync it to the drums.
Right.
So if the thing was throbbing at the wrong rate and they punched in and started playing, it would just be, instead of being like jubba dubba dub like that, it would just be like so.
well, then what do we do about Morse?
right. Well, you gotta,
so wait, hold on. You're not ready.
you gotta make it right for the Mazur to do his thing.
That's true. I have a question that I've been like sort of dying to ask you guys, and of course I'm thrilled to be here to be able to do this. The relationship between technology and your compositional styles, and particularly in the last, I guess, to my ear, the last 4 or 5 albums, I've noticed the kind of marked style difference between the two of your songwriting styles.
Okay.
And what I'm hearing in Linnell is, more counterpoint and things where things are.
I'm doing my best to rip off Flansburgh, so whatever. So it just represents a failure of that.
And yeah, I guess I can assume the reciprocal there, that you're doing your best to rip Linnell off, or
You don't have to say that.
I just don't want to. I just don't share my files with John.
is there something to that? Is there something to the relationship between technology and songwriting? I'm telling my students all the time, about the perils of click and drag loops and how easy it is to circumvent the actual process.
What about the delights of
Yeah,
click and
the
drag
pleasure.
loops?
I think to me it's like there is a thing where if you have a mental picture of the structure of the song, you don't have to waste a lot of time cutting and pasting stuff. I mean, you cut and paste and you're done, and you can focus on the more nuanced stuff. So I mean, there is this huge advantage to that, as long as that isn't all you're doing. Obviously, it's very tempting to say verse 2, second verse same as the first kind of thing. That's.
But there could be a note in your file, maybe either digital performer or finale. I'm not exactly
right.
That verse 2 add trumpet or verse 2.
I'd say we're pretty. Would you say I think pretty adamant about not repeating the precise arrangement, potato printing, as we say. But in terms of the structure, the second verse has the same structure as the first, and then you concentrate on making.
Maybe you introduce a counterpoint thing there,
or the melody's
something like
different, and that's enough.
And how much do you rely on your live players now, the bass player and the drummer, to come into?
Yeah. We can talk about the typical process, and of course there's as many exceptions as there are the rule. But I think John and I both really enjoy this thing which is a new thing, which wasn't the case in the 80s and 90s, which is that we can take a demo that we've made and basically dovetail it into a recording with the band without having to re-record or retrack parts. In other words, you can take some of the same tracks and insert them into what will be the final thing, or alter them slightly. But it's not the old days where we'd have to start from scratch if we were going to the studio with a live drummer.
It's especially good for sort of saving the most fragile, indefensible part that you would typically back in the horrible 20th century, you would have a very difficult time defending to the producer, because they'd be like, well, it has hiss on it.
Right.
And it's like, but I know it has hiss on it, but it's like the coolest sound, and we'll never be able to get it. And the studio's like, oh, we'll be able to get it, except you never did.
Well, you can copy it, and then it doesn't have the vibe for some reason.
Right.
Yeah.
I sense the kind of hybrid of what you're talking about, like either either pre-realized stuff in the digital audio workstation along with live, beginning to like feel and hear that around Factory Showroom.
That was Factory Showroom was like I think the first album we did where we were bringing in DA88s, which were the first. That was I think you're doing some very close listening because that was when we were bringing in home recordings. Up until then, the best home recording we had was Atari Open Reel 8-track, and that was very, very cumbersome to really. I don't think we ever really transferred. So we made fuller sounding demos, but we rarely transformed those things, transferred them into live tracks. We would use samplers that we had sequences built around, and that would make it to the end product.
I remember the first time I took a vocal that had been recorded digitally into my computer and transferred it. This was when we were making Mink Car, so that's how late it was. And it was one of those things where I played it was the background vocals. I played it for Clive Langer and Alvin Stanley, and I was like, so this is the way it sounds. And they're like, well, why don't we just use that?
Right. It's like,
and I was like, but that's against the law.
Right.
What tune was that?
It might have been Bangs. I think it was the background vocals for Bangs were just dumped from my laptop straight into their setup, which was this crazy. What was that?
They used the thing that's like for people who want Pro Tools but don't want a computer. Don't want to think about a computer.
Right.
It's a Radar.
Yeah.
Which is actually supposed to be a great format in many ways. It's also, speaking of reliable, it's like I think it might have had like the earliest like solid state drive in it, like the smallest version.
It's super fast.
So it's like it won't crash.
Wow.
So like if you're like a lot of older engineers who are used to tape recorders, who are used to not looking at sound waves and not looking at it coming in, I think for a lot of people, you don't see that wave on a computer screen. You feel like it's not really happening anymore. It's the young man's VU meter.
Right. You know, at the risk of asking a question that I suppose you've been asked a lot of late about the new album, I Like Fun. I mean, it's a great album. I really like the way it sounds. It's
Thank you.
It's well produced, and it's just it has that sort of feel. And I've noticed again, certain compositional kind of aspects to each of the last maybe 5 or 6 albums, going back to perhaps Join Us. And I don't sense a kind of theme around individual albums, though I do sense sometimes a kind of a series of like compositional either conceits or ideas or creative. Is that, for example, Nanobots and I'm on Fire. You're on Fire. I beg your pardon. It sounds to me like you're really, really sort of obsessed with the 4th scale degree.
Huh. Okay. I don't know. Maybe obsessed is the wrong word.
And it's just like it sounds to me like that's the thing.
You've thought about it harder than I have, but I appreciate it.
The last tune on the new album, you're reaching for like the highest notes you've ever sung.
Oh yeah, this has become a problem. Like there's a lot of high singing on this album, and some of us are fighting the flu this season. So it's been a real challenge to perform this stuff.
Auto tune.
I think they were. Well, yeah, we do use auto tune
in the studio. We
yeah.
we use whatever the other one is.
Yeah.
The one that makes
Antares or
no, Antares is auto tune. The other one,
Melodyne.
Melodyne, which in its raw form really, sounds like Cher put through the Cher.
But it has there's a lot. You can make it not sound like a robot. It's a very nice thing.
Yeah, there's sort of like a gentle massage version of it.
Yeah, kind of smoothing and kind of bumping things.
Although it still sounds pretty fake to my ear, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes that's okay. I mean, like there's a song called "This Microphone" on the album that is very much like a very retro kind of '60s style recording. There's nothing particularly cutting edge about it, and you certainly wouldn't want to hear an auto-tune effect on it.
Right.
But the auto-tune on the vocal is actually quite locked, and it's doubled, and so it just the illusion is it just sounds like a really good singer.
Yeah, I think that was the thing where John left the room, and Pat, the engineer, and I were very conscious of how much you hate the sound of auto-tune. So we were super nervous about making it too roboty. So we were actually, some of the things we were like, okay, not too much there, you know.
Well, because part of it is like, for me, if you're listening on headphones, you can hear auto-tune much more easily than like on regular speakers. And we spend most of our mixing time on regular speakers, and a lot of times I'll get tracks, mixes home, and all of a sudden be like, hey man,
it's too much.
It's too much. It's like close listening really reveals a lot of stuff in a different way. But but we were talking about sort of like the way in which we record stuff, and I was saying that one of the things that sort of, I mean, I feel like the way we work now really started with Join Us, where there's some like active file trading going on. I felt like this album, more than usual, was really like there was a whole early section of things where we were making tracks for one another and passing them back
more than we've done. That was definitely a new thing where John had a lot of John sent me a big pile of beats,
which is even just making a beat just to make a beat is such a strange enterprise, because you know that there's going to be a lot of stuff piled on top, but you also know that like it's got to be more compelling than just a regular beat. Like if it's just a regular, it's got to have some spark to it. But
you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, so it's like this weird kind of pushing, pulling.
And when you would do so, you likely render everything out discreetly so that Pat could mix things in the studio.
Oh, they'll be very simple. And a lot of times they'll be very simple. And the other thing that's sort of, I mean, in our decrepitude, like 30 years plus into it, I think I've come to realize that we don't really want to be overproduced. Like that being overproduced is just as big a drag as being underproduced. Like I think when we were first starting out, we felt like there were a lot of limitations. Like we never had enough tracks, and we always wanted just to be able to add one extra thing, because that would make it cooler. And now it's like much more.
Well, but John introduced this thing to me at the very beginning of when we started working together, which was this notion of subtractive mix, where you get all your elements together, you have everything you want to hear, and then you have the pleasure of removing things and hearing how much better it sounds when you take one or another thing out. And that was, I feel like that was an early thing that we got interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's like part of being home. If you do a lot of, my first real musical instrument was like a 4-track tape recorder. Like I just made sort of sound things, as a teenager, and that was, how. I mean, it's like being a DJ. It's like very much a DJ mentality, or like an electronic techno. It's weird when like the exciting part is when stuff goes away, but sometimes it is the exciting part.
Very often. I mean, if anything, it's like almost a tick for us. That we like, we want to gas it up, so we just pull stuff out. And there's a naked. Whatever bass or something.
There's probably a
people
relationship.
Love naked bass.
They do.
Who doesn't? Right. Especially the fretless.
Yes.
But just a few more questions. I know you guys are busy. If that's cool.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So, well, and so
this is the best conversation we've had in weeks.
Oh well, then let's can we talk about what's your favorite fast food joint?
Right. I really like Five Guys, but I think
the Five Guys in Queens is way better than the one in Brooklyn.
I think you got to get more consistent.
Five Guys, 2 stars.
No, I do like Five Guys. I really like the Gregory Brothers Five Guys song.
And all the peanuts, right?
Yeah.
Like you
peanuts
load up on peanuts.
Right. You already have a hamburger and fries coming. Do you really need peanuts?
Right. And the burger is, it's sopping. It's just dripping down your hand, right?
Well, I do like the way
your hand
this
on
conversation
accident.
is now completely sidetracked.
Okay, sorry. But in terms of whittling away of songs, starting with these like large, I think of Stravinsky all the time when I think of like these kind of like block structures of ideas. Then you kind of thin out. And then if you start big, if you start in the compositional world with a big, fully fleshed idea out, then you can get there linearly from, kind of in a progression by adding more stuff, but you're actually subtracting backwards.
Right. Well, I guess this is, I think I know what you're referring to, that Stravinsky revised the Sacre du Printemps, and towards the end he had pulled a lot of stuff out so you could hear the the big chord, the famous,
Yeah, what
Bum, bum, bum.
E flat minor and
Yeah.
D
which
major.
I mean that's exactly the same idea. It's like
Yeah.
he knew what he wanted to hear, and he just had to pull the weeds out of the garden until he found the
Yeah.
flower.
Yeah. So,
You know.
do you have a favorite Flansburgh tune?
I go all back and forth, and I've been nagging John about certain songs that we have.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to put Old Pine Box.
I
back
love
in
Old
the show.
Pine Box.
Yeah.
There's some songs, and I feel like maybe this isn't the universal response, and maybe it doesn't mean as much for the show. But there's some songs that I feel like very emotionally attached to.
Yeah.
That it's like that thing somebody said about Death of a Salesman. Like, just because the audience is crying doesn't make it a good play.
Right.
But that's so. Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's a whole range of things. But what I mainly like amongst our work is just the sheer variety of it. It's a great pleasure to just try to pull new stuff out of that we haven't played in a while.
Do you have a favorite Linnell tune?
There's a bunch of tracks on the new album that I really like. This Mrs. Bluebeard song is really exciting.
Yeah.
Just the rhythms of it. I mean, we don't have that many things that are like in the Latin feel, but it's just like the piano playing on it to me is like super exciting. And I mean, I have very, it's really casual Fridays for me, so I get to, I barely play on it. So it's just, I just get to enjoy the show.
Yeah, I like the Flanders songs where I'm mostly just listening.
Right.
That's fun too.
Yeah.
On Bluebeard, though, now that to me gets back to like an earlier question in terms of compositional style. What software are you using in the compositional process, or are you at accordion or piano?
Oh well, so John and I both use Digital Performer,
Right, okay.
but it's for me it's really a matter of like if it's something like that song, I can't type it in. I have to actually play it to make sense of it. In other words, it wouldn't feel like music unless I was playing it on the keyboard. And I'm not gifted enough on the keyboard to execute it perfectly. So the brilliant thing about any sequencing software is you play it badly and then you fix all the mistakes.
Right.
So that is a very typical way for me to start. It's just ham-fistedly pound it out, and then in fact to the point where I've almost taken that to my live performance where I don't know how to play something perfectly anymore.
Although the recording is, I mean, you and Pat did hash out
that was live piano.
A live piano.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
really,
grand piano on the record. It's not.
But we did some fixes.
Yeah.
It's not.
Then the suspensions are great. They seem to like really be worked out. And I wonder sometimes if that's also worked out in Melodyne too. Like if there's a particular note that you want to either move or stay.
Oh no, we've never done Melodyne that deep. I mean, I've seen things where people
notes,
do stuff. Yeah, I mean, like
change the
chords.
melody.
Well, or either
Chords,
so like
chords. Like people use Melodyne as a chord shifting.
Oh, weird.
yeah, it
Yeah,
works in polyphonic
Yeah.
textures.
Right,
Yeah, people do it with
right.
background vocals too. Like they'll have like a like a 3-part harmony thing of vocals, and they'll reach in and just be like,
Oh, we
kink,
should-
kink, kink, kink.
We
And
should
it's-
totally do that.
You should.
Oh,
No,
man.
I was imagining
Why aren't we
like,
doing that?
Right.
Like
hold
a-
on, I've got a colonoscopy appointment. I don't know. It just seems too like.
I would dig to it. I never
Really?
occurred to me.
But
to do
while
it.
you're waiting in the office
Where's
for
my
the
profile?
colonoscopy,
Yeah.
you could be listening to Ligeti, like George
Yeah,
Ligeti
yeah.
being like melodined into barbershop
Right.
harmonies.
Well, there are some videos of like famous songs turned put into
From major to minor,
key.
yeah.
Oh
We
my
are-
favorite is Losing My Religion.
Yeah,
well-
we are
well,
big,
it
we are
is,
big
yeah.
fans of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think my favorite. Well, it's between Let It Be and the Godfather theme put in a major key.
Very,
which,
very nice.
I feel like the
God.
minor keys put into major are the ones that are the most sort of like.
They're
They
using
always-
like the harmonic minor,
Yeah.
the lower.
Yeah.
It's just really that
It
note
was-
was like way off.
What's weird is that it has such an emotional, psychological effect. Like YMCA, there's something like Wagnerian about the horn chart when they make it ba 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 da ba dum ba. It's like really serious all of a sudden, like
Right.
you know.
We're doing hard work.
YMCA. It's like
We are men.
It's
and
really
we are working.
scary. It's like
Yeah.
yikes! Oh no.
Yeah. So yeah, no, there's a world of things you could do with Melodyne but you just need to have a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah. Well, so for the record, my favorite tunes are "You're an Angel" and "Cloisonné."
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The Cloisonné is a really odd composition. I mean, there's the song "I Like Fun." I feel like in some ways is like in the same genre of it's like another kind of songwriting in a weird way. It's like it's riff based, so it's very familiar in a way. Like it's not that different than like a rhythm and blues kind of song, because it's just Cloisonné literally is a blues song. I had a really long lyric for it, and I've been working for a very long time. I'm not sure why, but this basically the song was written between like 2 in the morning and 5 in the morning. And I had much too much coffee and was just really like, I've got to get something good. I've got to just do something that's like original and good, and just kind of traced out this simple thing. I knew that Stan Harrison was going to be doing a horn. I was also similar to the Beats idea, which is like leaving enough room so when you're collaborating with somebody else that they have something that they can really jump on top of. Like it's you almost have to hold back like how much there is going on to make it not over.
You're writing out the horn parts in that, correct?
Let's see. That one. No. The Stan Harrison was entirely. Basically, I just really did like the Fender Rhodes thing on it. I think you put a bass on it, and then Stan just went to town on the horns, and those crazy horn sections are entirely from the imagination of Stan Harrison, and he deserves full
the
credit
bass
and
clarinet,
blame.
you played the bass
Yeah.
clarinet part.
On I Like Fun, that's bass clarinet on
as well,
Cloisonné,
yeah.
yeah.
But I've got to feel like I want to obsess about this little detail.
Yeah.
Did you compose the bass clarinet part?
That was me.
Okay,
John sent me the vocal. I think it was the vocal and the drum machine. It's an amazing sounding track by itself.
Yeah.
And I did the bass clarinet and the piano, the electric piano.
No, the piano was in there. But it's only like 3 chords. It's 3 chords. It was just going gunk.
So yeah, and so you had the sense for the feel, and you guys have enough intuition between the two of you compositionally that you just know what you're doing.
I knew what
you're
meant.
doing.
Yeah. But the thing is, there is the stand thing on top of it, which is a whole other realm. So it's just a way of.
It was very collaborative.
Yeah.
piece of
Horns are
music.
cool. The rock band I was in after high school, we covered the guitar.
Oh my God.
And a friend of I played Barry sax and soprano sax in high school and in college, and I was also the singer for the band. But then for that, our guitar player sang the guitar, and I play soprano. They play the trumpet part on soprano saxophone.
Nice.
And it was keyed perfectly for it because I think I could go up to like a high E or F sharp, just a perfect range,
Right.
the highest note on the. And it covered the trumpet part, and then my friend Chris would like just blast the Barry sax part.
Yeah, we still. I mean, we're still. I think running up against that thing of you write charts using fake, sampled instruments, and then you find out, for example, that trumpet players, while they can play high up, there's just a limit to how many high notes in sequence and super high notes they're willing to play. Yeah,
That a human can hear, like Maynard Ferguson.
There just aren't that many Maynard Fergusons.
Early on, we were working with a horn player, and we handed him something that was obviously entirely conceived on a sampler, and he was just like, "I just can't have the horn on my face for that."
It's
and
just not
the
possible.
way he said it, it seemed like he had a really hostile relationship to his own instrument. It's like, I don't want that thing on my face.
For the purposes of your fan, I have to ask this question: whether or not "When Will You Die" is about Donald Trump.
It's not about Donald Trump, but I really like the fact that you don't know who it's about. I mean, that to me is like actually what's.
It's the "You're So Vain."
It's the "You're So Vain."
Might be John.
Yeah. It would be. I think it'd be disappointing.
John will only tell.
It would be disappointing if we revealed it, and so I mean I think that's what's good about what I like about the song is it's
So Carly Simon
It's
wrote
just hateful.
"You're So Vain About Y'all."
yes, exactly.
Yes,
Yes.
son of a gun.
So that song is about Carly Simon. Just to answer your question.
I had a suspicion. I had
When
this
will
suspicion.
she die?
Sometime tomorrow. Sorry. One last question, and I'll let you guys get to sound check. Are the Barry sax notes in number 3 sampled or played?
That's a good question. This is a great, just like totally weirdo thing. We had this 45 RPM record of a song called Skinny Lena, which is a polka track,
Popular.
and it's in like a tripletty feel. So the sax there's a I think maybe tenor or alto sax thing going in between each verse, and somehow we figured out a way to make the record skip. We played it at 33, right? It's 45 at 33, and it's skipping, and it went boom, 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 boom. So it's like changing the meter and changing the key and changing it to a Barry sax, and it was just like a serendipitous, crazy thing.
There's some music technology for you.
Technology there.
Yeah.
Doing your 2 turntables in a
No,
row.
it was, it's hard to plan stuff like that. Sometimes it just happens.
One more question.
Sure.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. What do you think about the sound of today's pop?
It's shit.
Right. Where was
I think I've
Quincy?
ever heard you cuss.
Where was Quincy Jones on this? These kids. Write a song. Hum me a tune.
Yeah. Quincy Jones said this thing about Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
recently.
People,
Really?
everyone
It's
watching, or just Google it because it's a barrel of laughs.
It's fun.
But as somebody who is an active consumer of contemporary hip hop, specifically Hot 97 in New York City, which is the blazing hip hop and R&B station, some of it's really interesting. I find like the sounds of trap music, which is basically like if you take away the vocals, is entirely sounds like some kind of hip hop version of a haunted house theme. Kind of compelling. I mean, it's a little. There's a lot of really stock ideas, which is not untypical for hip hop. I mean, when something works, it tends to get jumped on by a million people and done in a million different ways. But I think the initial thing of it was pretty interesting. Everybody our age complains about things being like over compressed, which just seems like, so what?
like
So what is
that-
over compressed? Get your stuff over compressed, and then it'll be as loud as everybody else.
Right, the loudness wars.
The loudness
right,
wars. It's like we get our stuff mastered at Sterling, and I'm proud to say Sterling is winning the loudness war. And I'm glad when our songs come on Spotify, they're just as loud as
I had
everybody else's.
Greg Calby do
Oh yeah.
the thing that I just finished. Well, did the music for the animation still happening? But yeah, I mean the guy's got such a ridiculously good ear. like,
Yeah,
after
and he's
50
got
years.
great tools to do
It's
stuff.
kind of shocking when you hear it in progress because it's like, isn't that a bit much?
You
Like,
almost
aren't
don't. You
are
almost don't want to know.
Yeah, it's like you're exactly. It's
You know,
like it's like seeing how much butter they put in the cooking.
Right, you're going to like a nice steakhouse, and it's like here's the quarter pound of butter being placed on top of your steak. It's just like
Don't I can't watch.
But it's it's ultimately it's delicious. I mean, I'll tell you, we did one session one time with Bob Clearmountain. It was when the song from Malcolm in the Middle was coming out, and the song, the show was a huge hit, like instant huge hit, and people were talking about the theme, and ultimately we would get like a Grammy for the theme, and so like it was Fox TV and a record company, and they were all like throwing money at stuff, and we had made a full-length version of it, and there were all sorts of like people, smarter than us who thought like we should do a fancier production or have somebody else do something or have it be recorded a different way. And one of the things that we've learned along the way is sometimes it's good to just pull in somebody who's like the argument settler, and by hiring Bob Clearmountain, who we had mutual friends, so we knew he was like a nice guy, that if he mixed it, it would be cool. And he had a place in Pacific Palisades that's like incredibly beautiful, and I came out for the mix session just to approve what was happening. And he's got a studio in his house, and he's got this drooly studio cat, and it's all like very, very comfortable and stuff. And then there's but he also has a live echo chamber built into his house, which is insane. He's got an SSL board that has you could land in. It's like an aircraft carrier. It's like 198 channels or 104 channels or something. It's the longest board you've ever seen because he does everything through the SSL. And he had, his guy set it up for a day. He had mixed it for a day. I came in there and, we're just listening on NS10s, completely familiar studio system for me to hear what's going on. And he just hit play, and it was a sort of at moderate volume. I was like, this is the brightest recording I have ever. It was I thought it was tearing my head off. It was so bright, and I just couldn't believe it. Just didn't. It seemed wrong and unbelievable to me. It was that crazy. But truth be told, that's exactly is the final mix. And when you listen to it, it just sounds kind of like the way hit records sound. It's in the studio situation that we're in. It made me realize that all those full frequency things that I always expect to be there, sometimes for people who are making pop records, they throw a lot of stuff out the window. And again, there's no shortcomings to it. It's not wrong. It's just the aesthetic is so evolved, and what they're looking to do, and how the mix travels into the world,
for a specific purpose.
Yeah,
not everything has to sound like that.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I suddenly thought we need to change the way we make all our recordings.
Yeah.
But it was like a real eye opener. I mean, it was literally an eye opener. I mean, I was
right.
Kind of amazed at how different it could be.
Yeah.
And it still has bass. It still has. You can hear the kick drum. It's not like it sounded like a transistor radio, but it just was. It had this brilliance to it that was just very, very unusual.
So interesting to me, how playback systems and modern, the kind of playback culture, from earbuds to the crappy little speakers in a MacBook, inform the way things are mixed and mastered. The new Beck album, while I like a lot of the music, the production of it is so shrill and bright. It just
right.
There's one frequency.
He has very unusual tastes in reverbs, Beck.
Yeah.
I really wonder what he's doing, because it doesn't sound like any. It's really his own deal. It's
like he's doing his own impulse responses or something, and just like in the Church of Scientology, probably.
Well, it sounds like some kind of church reverb. I mean, it's very exquisite. It's a very endless. I don't know. Again, speaking of brilliance, those recordings are very. I have actually Google searched what kind of reverb Beck is. I thought there must be some tech article from an engineer somewhere saying what he's using, and it's a trade secret.
Yeah, well, his secret is safe with him, I suppose. Hey, John Flansburgh, John Linnell, thank you so much. I cannot tell you what a real honor it was.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks.
It's
our pleasure.
Thanks. It was
take care.
Thanks so much for having us.
Sure.
I'm glad we did this.
And tell the class.
This camera.
Oh yeah,
here.
that camera.
AET 304.
Yeah. Stay in school.
Don't do drugs.
Yes.
You guys are amazing. Thanks once again. I look forward to the show tonight.
Oh, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
Right, well, I'm going to figure out how to delete this thing right away.
Right.
Or maybe I won't.
Gave away too many trade secrets.
Yeah, too many trade secrets.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys.
Right.
Do I need to?
We don't want people to know.